Have you ever noticed that the greatest battle in your life is not always happening in front of you? It is not your difficult circumstances. It is not the opinions of strangers. It is not the people who underestimated you or the doors that never opened. The fiercest battle often lives in complete silence, hidden beneath your smile, your routines, and your achievements. It is the battle between the person you are and the voice inside your own mind that keeps insisting you are not enough. It is the invisible conflict that steals your confidence before the world ever gets the chance. It is the quiet enemy that convinces you to hesitate when you should move, to doubt when you should believe, and to surrender when you should rise. Many people spend years trying to escape difficult people, painful memories, and disappointing moments, yet they never realize they have carried the harshest critic with them every single day. They wake up with it. They work beside it. They fall asleep listening to it. That voice does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers so softly that it begins to sound like truth. It tells you that you are too late, too broken, too ordinary, too flawed to deserve the life you dream about. The tragedy is not that the voice exists. The tragedy is believing it deserves your trust. There is a strange habit we develop without noticing. We forgive the world for its mistakes, yet refuse to forgive ourselves for being human. We celebrate the strength of others while dismissing our own. We encourage people to chase their dreams while quietly abandoning ours. We become experts at standing in our own way, building walls where there should have been doors, planting fear where hope once lived. Then we wonder why life feels heavy, why joy seems distant, why success appears to belong to everyone except us. But what if the chains holding you back were never locked? What if the prison you have been trying to escape was built from thoughts you accepted without question? Imagine how different your life could become if, for just one moment, you stopped treating yourself like an opponent and started treating yourself like someone worth believing in. Imagine the possibilities waiting on the other side of self-compassion, courage, and a new way of seeing your own reflection. Because the day you stop becoming your own worst enemy is the day your real life finally has room to begin. The most exhausting battles in life are rarely the ones the world can see. They are fought in silence, behind calm faces, polite conversations, and ordinary routines. While people often believe their greatest enemies are unfair circumstances, difficult people, or unexpected failures, the truth is far more personal. The mind has an incredible ability to create strength, hope, and resilience, but it also possesses the power to create fear, doubt, and emotional prisons. When the conflict begins within, every challenge outside becomes heavier than it truly is. A person who is constantly fighting against themselves will find even small obstacles overwhelming because they are carrying an invisible burden that never seems to disappear. Think about how many opportunities are lost before they even begin. A dream is abandoned, not because it is impossible, but because someone quietly decides they are not capable enough. A conversation never happens because fear predicts rejection before a single word is spoken. A talent remains hidden because perfection becomes a requirement instead of progress. These moments are not created by the world. They are created by an inner voice that questions every step criticizes every mistake and magnifies every weakness. It is a battle that drains energy without leaving physical scars, making it one of the hardest struggles to recognize. The mind often becomes a courtroom where every past mistake is presented as permanent evidence against the future. One failure is treated as proof that success will never come. One rejection becomes confirmation that acceptance is impossible. One embarrassing moment grows into a lifelong fear of being seen. Instead of allowing experiences to become lessons, the mind transforms them into lifelong sentences. This is how the silent battle gains power. It convinces people that yesterday has more authority than tomorrow. Many people spend years strengthening everyone around them while weakening themselves with relentless self-judgment. They speak words of encouragement to friends, but reserve their harshest language for the person in the mirror. They celebrate another person's achievements, yet dismiss their own progress as insignificant. They forgive others for making mistakes while demanding perfection from themselves. This imbalance slowly erodes confidence until self-doubt feels normal. The battle becomes so familiar that it is mistaken for reality rather than recognized as a destructive habit. The greatest danger of this invisible conflict is that it often disguises itself as caution or humility. It says, "Don't try because you might fail." It says, "Stay quiet because someone else knows better." It says, "Wait until you're perfect before taking the next step." These thoughts appear reasonable, yet they quietly steal possibilities. They delay action, suppress creativity, and replace courage with endless hesitation. While the world continues moving forward, the person remains trapped in a cycle of overthinking, believing that safety is the same as peace. Every meaningful achievement in history begins with someone choosing not to believe the fearful voice within. The difference between those who transform their lives and those who remain stuck is rarely talent alone. More often, it is the decision to stop treating every fearful thought as an unquestionable truth. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is refusing to let fear become the author of your decisions. The inner battle loses its strength when you recognize that your thoughts are not always facts. They are experiences, emotions, memories, and assumptions passing through the mind, and they do not have the authority to define your identity. The human spirit is stronger than the stories it tells itself during moments of weakness. Every person carries both an inner critic and an inner guide. One constantly searches for reasons to stop, while the other quietly reminds you that growth has always required uncertainty. The voice you choose to nourish becomes the one that shapes your future. When fear is repeatedly believed, it becomes a prison. When hope is repeatedly practiced, it becomes a pathway. The silent battle within is not won in one dramatic moment, but through countless small decisions to think differently, speak more kindly to yourself, trust your abilities a little more than yesterday, and refuse to let your own mind become the obstacle standing between you and the life you were always capable of creating. Self-doubt rarely arrives with loud announcements or dramatic warnings. It enters quietly, disguising itself as caution, humility, or realism. At first, it seems harmless. It encourages you to think twice before taking a risk, to question whether you are truly ready, or to compare your abilities with those of others. But over time, this quiet habit grows into a constant companion that begins shaping every decision you make. Instead of protecting you from failure, it slowly protects you from growth. Opportunities pass by, dreams remain untouched, and possibilities fade away. Not because they were impossible, but because you convince yourself they belong to someone else. Fear works alongside self-doubt like an invisible partner. While self-doubt whispers that you are not enough, fear paints detailed pictures of everything that could go wrong. It tells you that people will judge you if you fail, that success carries responsibilities you may not handle, or that stepping outside your comfort zone will only lead to disappointment. The mind becomes occupied with imagined disasters instead of real opportunities. Long before life has a chance to test you, fear has already declared the outcome. The greatest limitation is no longer the challenge itself, but the belief that you are incapable of facing it. Harsh self-judgment deepens this struggle even further. Many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another human being. A single mistake becomes evidence of incompetence. One setback becomes proof that they are destined to fail. Every flaw is magnified while every strength is overlooked. Instead of recognizing mistakes as natural parts of learning, they transform them into permanent labels. This relentless criticism creates emotional exhaustion because no achievement ever feels sufficient. Even success becomes difficult to enjoy when the mind immediately focuses on what could have been done better. The tragedy of self-doubt is not only that it limits action, but that it changes identity. A person who repeatedly tells themselves they are incapable eventually begins living as though it were true. Confidence fades, curiosity disappears, and ambition slowly loses its voice. Dreams that once felt exciting begin to seem unrealistic. Goals become smaller, not because potential has decreased, but because belief has. The individual adapts to a life far beneath their true abilities, simply because they accepted an inaccurate story about themselves. Comparison fuels this destructive cycle. Every glance at someone else's achievements becomes another reason to question your own worth. Instead of appreciating another person's success as evidence of possibility, the mind interprets it as proof of personal inadequacy. Social media, public recognition, and visible accomplishments often hide years of struggle, failure, and persistence. Yet comparison focuses only on the polished result. It ignores the unseen journey and measures your beginning against someone else's breakthrough. This unfair comparison creates unnecessary pressure and convinces you that you are falling behind, even when you are moving at the pace your own growth requires. Peace cannot exist where constant self-condemnation lives. Every day becomes another attempt to earn your own approval, yet the standard continues to move farther away. Perfection becomes the goal, even though perfection has never been the requirement for a meaningful life. Growth asks only for honesty, consistency, and the willingness to continue despite imperfection. The moment you stop demanding flawless performance, you create space for genuine progress. You begin seeing mistakes as teachers rather than enemies, and challenges as opportunities instead of threats. The remarkable truth is that your inner dialogue has the power to shape your external reality. Every encouraging thought strengthens courage. Every compassionate response to failure builds resilience. Every decision to believe in your potential weakens the influence of fear. The voice inside your mind can either become the chain that holds you back or the foundation that lifts you forward. When you refuse to let self-doubt, fear, and harsh judgment define your worth, you reclaim opportunities that were never truly lost. Discover strength that had always existed beneath uncertainty, and begin walking through life with a quiet confidence that no longer depends on perfection, approval, or the absence of fear. Every lasting change in life begins long before the world notices it. It starts in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the conversations you have with yourself every single day. Most people believe transformation comes from changing careers, moving to a different city, finding better opportunities, or meeting the right people. While those things can influence your path, they are rarely the true beginning of change. The foundation of every meaningful transformation is built inside the mind. The words you repeatedly tell yourself become the beliefs you carried, and those beliefs quietly shape every decision, every reaction, and every direction your life takes. Your inner dialogue is more powerful than you may realize. It is the voice that greets you when you wake up, and the one that follows you into every challenge. Before you apply for an opportunity, that voice has already formed an opinion about whether you deserve it. Before you speak in a room full of people, it has already decided whether your words matter. Before you take a risk, it has already imagined either success or failure. If your daily conversation is filled with criticism, fear, and limitation, your actions will naturally reflect those expectations. You cannot consistently build a confident life while constantly speaking to yourself with doubt and disappointment. Many people unknowingly become prisoners of old stories. They continue repeating sentences that were created years ago by painful experiences, childhood disappointments, or moments of rejection. They say, I always fail. I'm not talented enough. People like me never succeed, or it's too late for me. These statements may feel familiar, but familiarity does not make them true. They are conclusions formed from temporary experiences, yet they become permanent scripts that control the future. Every time these thoughts are repeated, they grow stronger, making it more difficult to imagine a different reality. Transformation begins when you become aware of these patterns and choose to interrupt them. Awareness is the first act of freedom. The moment you recognize that your thoughts are influencing your emotions and your emotions are influencing your actions, you gain the ability to make different choices. Instead of accepting every negative thought as truth, you begin questioning it. Is this thought based on facts or fear? Is it helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Does it reflect who I truly am, or does it simply echo an old wound? These questions weaken the grip of limiting beliefs and create space for healthier perspectives. Changing the conversation with yourself does not mean pretending that life is easy or ignoring genuine difficulties. It means choosing honesty over hopelessness. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you begin saying, I haven't mastered this yet. Instead of believing, I failed, so I am a failure, you remind yourself, I failed at one attempt, but I am still learning. This shift may seem small, but it changes everything. The mind responds differently to possibility than it does to defeat. Encouraging thoughts inspire action, while discouraging thoughts create hesitation. Over time, these repeated choices reshape confidence from the inside out. The language you use with yourself also influences how you respond to setbacks. If every mistake becomes a reason to quit, progress will always be temporary. But if mistakes become opportunities to learn, resilience begins to grow. Every successful person has experienced disappointment, rejection, and uncertainty. The difference is not that they avoided failure, but that they refused to let failure become the final definition of who they were. They learned to replace self-condemnation with self-reflection, allowing challenges to refine them instead of breaking them. The remarkable truth is that your mind listens to you more than it listens to anyone else. Friends may encourage you, mentors may guide you, and loved ones may believe in your potential. But if your own inner voice constantly argues against them, their support will have limited impact. Lasting confidence cannot be borrowed from others. It must be cultivated through the relationship you build with yourself. Every kind word you offer yourself, every limiting belief you challenge, every hopeful thought you choose over despair becomes another brick in the foundation of a stronger life. Transformation is not a single breakthrough that happens overnight, but a daily practice of speaking to yourself with truth, courage, patience, and unwavering belief until the person you once hoped to become slowly begins to emerge through the power of your own words and choices. Every person carries a story about who they are, whether they realize it or not. It is not the story written on paper or spoken aloud to others, but the one repeated quietly in the mind every day. This inner story influences confidence, relationships, decisions, and dreams. It determines whether challenges are seen as opportunities or threats, whether failure becomes a lesson or a life sentence, and whether success feels attainable or forever out of reach. The remarkable truth is that this story is not fixed. It is not carved into stone by your past, your circumstances, or the opinions of others. It can be rewritten, one belief, one choice, and one courageous step at a time. Many people unknowingly allow painful experiences to become the foundation of their identity. A childhood filled with criticism may convince someone they will never be good enough. A failed relationship may persuade another person that they are impossible to love. A financial struggle may create the belief that prosperity belongs only to others. These experiences are real, and the emotions they create deserve acknowledgement, but they should never become permanent definitions of who you are. Events happen to you, but they are not you. The danger begins when temporary moments become lifelong labels that shape every future decision. The human mind has a natural tendency to search for evidence that supports its existing beliefs. If you believe you are incapable, your mind will highlight every mistake while ignoring every success. If you believe you are unworthy, every rejection will feel like proof, while every act of kindness will be dismissed as luck or coincidence. This pattern creates a cycle where old beliefs continuously reinforce themselves. Breaking this cycle requires the courage to question the story you have accepted for years. You must ask yourself whether the version of your life you keep repeating is based on truth or simply on repetition. Rewriting your story does not mean pretending that the past never happened. It means refusing to let the past become the author of your future. The scars you carry may always remind you of difficult seasons, but they do not have to dictate where your journey leads next. Every chapter of life serves a purpose, yet no single chapter contains the entire book. A painful beginning does not guarantee a painful ending. Some of the strongest people are those who chose to continue writing after everyone else assumed their story was over. There is extraordinary power in changing the meaning you assign to your experiences. Instead of viewing failure as evidence of weakness, you begin seeing it as proof that you had the courage to try. Instead of interpreting rejection as confirmation of worthlessness, you recognize it as redirection towards something better suited for your growth. Instead of carrying shame for every mistake, you embrace gratitude for every lesson those mistakes provided. The events themselves may never change, but their influence on your future changes completely when your perspective evolves. Your worth has never depended on perfection, applause, or constant success. It exists long before achievements arrive and remains even after disappointments occur. Too often, people spend years trying to earn value through accomplishments, believing they must prove they deserve respect, love, or happiness. Yet true confidence grows when you understand that your value is inherent, not conditional. Achievements may add experiences to your life, but they do not determine your importance as a human being. Once this realization takes root, fear begins to lose its grip because your identity is no longer tied to outcomes. The world will always offer opinions about who you should be. Some voices will encourage you, while others will attempt to limit you. If you allow every outside opinion to become part of your identity, you will spend your life changing to satisfy expectations that were never meant to define you. Rewriting your story requires choosing your own voice over the noise surrounding you. It demands the courage to believe in possibilities that others cannot yet see, and to continue walking even when your progress is invisible to everyone else. Every sunrise offers more than another day. It offers another opportunity to choose different thoughts, make different decisions, and create different habits. You are not confined to the person you were yesterday, nor are you obligated to repeat the patterns that once held you back. The pen that shapes your future has always been in your hands. Waiting for the moment you decide that your past may explain your journey, but it will never again determine your destination or the extraordinary person you are still becoming, freedom, is often imagined as something external. People believe it arrives when they earn more money, achieve greater success, gain recognition, escape difficult circumstances, or finally receive the approval they have been seeking. While these accomplishments can certainly improve life, they do not guarantee inner peace. There are people who possess wealth yet remain imprisoned by insecurity, and there are people with modest lives who walk through each day with remarkable confidence and contentment. The difference lies not in what they own, but in the relationship they have with themselves. True freedom begins the moment you stop treating yourself as an enemy and start becoming your own greatest source of strength. For many people, life becomes an endless struggle because they are constantly at war with their own thoughts. Every mistake becomes another reason for self-punishment. Every weakness is magnified until it overshadows every strength. Every setback is interpreted as proof that they are not capable enough. Living this way is emotionally exhausting because there is never a moment of rest. Even achievements fail to bring lasting satisfaction because the inner critic quickly finds another flaw to focus on. The mind becomes a place of conflict instead of peace, making happiness feel temporary and difficult to hold on to. Standing with yourself does not mean believing you are perfect or pretending that you never make mistakes. It means recognizing that your imperfections do not cancel your worth. Growth has never required perfection. Every person who has accomplished something meaningful has stumbled, failed, and questioned themselves along the way. The difference is that they learned to become their own ally rather than their own opponent. They understood that progress is sustained by encouragement, patience, and persistence, not by constant criticism and shame. Self-compassion is one of the greatest expressions of inner strength. It is not weakness, and it is not an excuse to avoid responsibility. It is the ability to acknowledge your mistakes honestly while refusing to let those mistakes define your identity. When you speak to yourself with kindness during difficult moments, you create the emotional resilience needed to keep moving forward. A harsh inner voice may force temporary action through fear, but genuine transformation comes from believing that you are worthy of growth even when you are still learning. Choosing yourself also means trusting your ability to recover from disappointment. Life will never be free of uncertainty. Plans will sometimes fail. People will sometimes leave, and unexpected challenges will appear without warning. Yet, when you become your own source of encouragement, these moments no longer have the power to destroy your spirit. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What can this experience teach me?" Instead of remaining trapped in regret, you search for wisdom. Instead of surrendering to fear, you move forward with greater understanding and resilience. There is a quiet confidence that develops when you stop seeking constant validation from others. Compliments become appreciated rather than necessary. Criticism becomes information rather than a definition of your value. Rejection becomes redirection instead of personal failure. Your peace is no longer dependent on the changing opinions of the world because it is rooted in something much deeper. You know who you are, what you stand for, and what you are capable of becoming. This confidence is not loud or arrogant. It is calm, steady, and unshaken because it is built from self-respect rather than external approval. Every day offers countless opportunities to choose whether you will work against yourself or work with yourself. You can continue feeding the thoughts that weaken your spirit, or you can nourish the beliefs that strengthen it. You can replay every past failure, or you can focus on the lessons those experiences have given you. You can criticize yourself for not being where you want to be, or you can celebrate the courage it took to keep moving despite every obstacle. These choices may seem small in the moment, but they shape the direction of an entire life. The greatest victory you will ever achieve is not proving your worth to the world, but recognizing it for yourself. The moment you stop fighting your own reflection, silence the voice that constantly tells you that you are not enough, and begin walking beside yourself with trust instead of doubt, you discover a kind of freedom that no circumstance can take away, a peace that remains through both success and failure, and a strength that continues to grow every time you choose to believe that the person standing in the mirror deserves the same compassion, patience, and unwavering support that you so freely give to everyone else.